Rudy Gobert, does he fit? Because I think that's what everybody is talking about across the world. This trade shocked the world. Like, this trade was not one of those under the table at the end of the night trades where, nobody's talking about it. It's just like, oh, it's just another small move. Here's a bunch of nobodies getting traded. Let's move on. No, this was a blockbuster trade. When you think about giving up 5 firsts, you think about giving up key pieces just to get one guy. And so we already thought they had I call it the big 2, little 3. You throw D'Angelo Russell. Now they have a true big 3 with Gobert, Karl-Anthony Towns, and Anthony Edwards. Here's where I take this to now, Sam. If you think about D'Angelo Russell's $31 million, would you rather have that or a off-the-court struggling Kyrie who on the court is absolute magic? Because now the Timberwolves are a contender with the Twin Towers. And Kyrie could be intrigued to play with younger pieces, because going to the Lakers, it's just a bunch of old dudes. And Kyrie would have to carry them. And he'd have to play big minutes. Whereas with the Timberwolves, he can come in, play iso ball when the Timberwolves need him. The bigs can get the bigs out the way. But then when he's driving to the lane, like Chris Paul used to do, he can throw an alley-oop to Gobert. He can throw a kick-out pass to Anthony Edwards, who's going to slash and dunk. He can kick it out to Karl-Anthony Towns, who's the best big man shooter in the NBA. I think he's like 30-something, high 30, 39% maybe from 3 on like 2,000 threes or something like that. Like, that's crazy. Like, the man can shoot. And now he's going to get to do it more because he has somebody that can rebound and somebody that's going to defend. He doesn't have to waste energy playing on the bigs, defending, running the whole court. He can go against some of these smaller 4s and these stretch 4s where he's the stronger of the group. Now you have the dump in from up top at the free throw line. He can dump it down to Gobert in the post. I mean, there's a lot you can do with this. And then, of course, you still have Anthony Edwards. So that's what I think. This is a ridiculous trade, but it works for the Timberwolves. But if they can find a way to get Kyrie, that puts them number 2 in the West, in my opinion. Because I think the Warriors are still there. I think everybody else now, because the Suns, we saw where they hurt. If you get into their heads, Devin Booker got hurt. We know that. But if you can get to them, they bleed. Like, the Suns do bleed. Everybody thought the Suns were just this ridiculous juggernaut. And it was going to be Suns, Warriors. Didn't happen. Mm-hmm. The Warriors are for real. The Grizzlies, they're young. I mean, that's it. They have great pieces. They have great athletes, but they're young. The Timberwolves now, if they can get Kyrie, become the number 2 team in the West. I don't know. What do you think, Sam?
Wow. I mean, scorching hot take, and I kind of love it. So statistically, there's been no discernible drop-off for Kyrie. I mean, he's the exact same guy he was when he was winning titles. Same guy he was in 2020, same guy he was in 2019. So he's 30 now, but he's the same guy. There's been no drop-off. He's really good. And you laid it out well. Off the court, troubled. On the court, spectacular. And you added a piece in Gobert who is not ball heavy. Like, he doesn't need the basketball to make an impact. He's going to score 15 points a game on 8 shots because all his shots are dunks, layups, alley-oops, the occasional free throws. He doesn't need the ball much. Now, D'Angelo Russell does. And if you exchange that for Kyrie, it's not really that big a trade-off in terms of, like, needing the ball. Now, I do worry about the cultural fit because you've already done something big to this locker room, Ron. And I'm not saying it was wrong, but you got rid of Jared Vanderbilt, big-time glue guy. People rallied around Vanderbilt. He was that lovable underdog. Patrick Beverley was another glue guy. You know, he was the emotional pulse of that team. You've shipped off pieces that were valuable to last year's culture, and now you've rocked the boat a bit because you're trying to get better on the floor. If you bring in Kyrie, you're really rocking that boat. Now, of course, I was the foolish one last Friday who was saying, don't go after KD. Keep the core together. You don't want someone who's disgruntled and gonna rev things up in the locker room. You don't want to mess with the culture here. Well, they've already done that with Gobert. So I guess if they made a step further and went after Kyrie, I couldn't fault them for going all in. I mean, clearly A-Rod and Mark Lowry they're okay going into the luxury tax. They're okay spending a ton of money on these pieces in order to win a title now. So, hey, I've changed my tune. It's not the most outlandish thing in the world. Why don't they go for it?
Yeah, and this is what I'll say to that. Let's be for real. If Kyrie Irving was playing in Houston If Kyrie Irving, because like if Houston had James Harden, they went after KD, and because they tried, they couldn't do it, and they kept Harden, went after KD instead of KD going to New York, and they bring in Kyrie to Houston. Not as big as a market as New York, but if they did it, you have a different team. I think any other city, New York and New Jersey had the toughest COVID restrictions of every team in the NBA. Kyrie Irving could only play on the road. He could come. This is the dumb thing. He could come to the center and watch the game. He can come to the arena and watch the game. He had to buy a ticket like any other fan and wear a mask, but he could not play and sit on his team's bench. That's how weird and dumb this got for not just the NBA, but the state of New York. Like that's just literally pushing that envelope to just really like how can we be the most annoying state in this country? And this is how we're just going to be ridiculous. We're going to let this guy in the arena. He can sit right in behind his team because he's going to pay premium. I mean, he's a millionaire. So, what, 30, $3,000, $5,000 online or whatever he did, to get that ticket, 10 grand even for him, nothing. 10 grand to sit right behind his teammates with a mask on, but he can't sit on the bench. That's dumb. Like, he doesn't have the vaccine. You let him in the building anyway with a mask, but that was okay. Now on the road, he could play. He could play wherever they played on the road, but he could not play at home. So I think a lot of the off the court stuff just became about his personal, like, my choice. And I'm not going to jump into that because, like, he does have that choice. So let the man do what he wants to do. Like, if he's going to isolate himself and be off by himself and he's not passing it to his teammates aren't getting it. Hey, maybe he's doing the right stuff. But that's where Kyrie Irving and the rubber met the road, is when New York set those rules and every other team lifted their restrictions. Their states lifted their restrictions except for New York. That was the only place where Kyrie could not do it. And if I'm not mistaken, I feel like it was one of those, like, he couldn't play in New Jersey but could play in New York or something. Like, it was something weird. Like, it was like the weirdest offseason. Plus then James Harden wasn't happy because he's like, dude, just get the vaccine. You're killing our big three. KD, and it became one of those. James Harden was mad at KD for bringing his boy Kyrie in. And Kyrie is like, well, bruh, like, I thought we were good. And James Harden's like, no, KD is my boy. Kyrie is killing us. And so then that chemistry just got bad. And at the end of the day, it proves that Kyrie does need a little bit more of a big brother like LeBron. He does need a little bit more guidance of a coach or an owner. And that's where I think you hit the nail on the head. Alex Rodriguez. A-Rod is a great big bro. A-Rod is a consummate pro. A-Rod is a guy that can have Kyrie over his house, and Kyrie can feel like, wait, this dude's a billionaire. Let's sit down and have a conversation. Let's talk. Oh, is that a picture of J-Lo? Man, tell me a little bit more about that. I mean, like, I think A-Rod can get to Kyrie to get to him up to a point where if he were to come, he'd understand everything. But Minnesota, we know the rules here. He can play here. He's fine. Like, they don't really play the Nets. They don't have to go to New York. He's fine. This could be a place. But LA is another place. I know LeBron's working hard to get Kyrie in there. He's willing to trade the entire team for Kyrie. We know Kyrie knows what him and LeBron can do together. But this is not the LeBron from 7-8 years ago. This is now 37, 38-year-old LeBron. And I don't know if that's going to work because Kyrie, yes, he can be a go guy. He can ISO ball to death, and he has the best ISO moves in the NBA. He's the best ball handler in the NBA. I mean, him and Steph Curry right there, I think he is a better ball handler than Steph Curry. He's a better post shooter than Steph Curry. He's a better in the lane finisher than Steph Curry. But Kyrie Irving might want to play with some younger pieces like Anthony Edwards, Karl-Anthony Towns, and now a defender in Rudy Gobert.